anytime on CBS. Like and follow News 1226 on Facebook for the latest up-to-date coverage near you.
Watch 1226 on your side, wherever you go. From the station that's on your side, this is News 12, First at 5.
A major step in the fight against COVID-19 here in Georgia. Anyone 16 and older can now get the vaccine. Plus, less than 2 weeks from the Masters. Can you believe it? Why businesses say despite limited patrons, they are still optimistic. But our top story today, all eyes are on the Peach State as the vaccine rollout expands once again. You're taking a look at AU Health's Washington Square Clinic today. Georgians as young as 16 are now able to sign up and get vaccinated. The governor made the announcement just this week. In South Carolina, DHEC says it is still too early to expand its vaccine rollout to say when it will be in phase 1B. That includes people 55 older and frontline workers. Coming up in the next half hour, what officials are doing to prepare for a possible influx. Here at home, the countdown for Masters Week is on. Businesses are preparing for what usually is a busy time. And even with limited patrons this year, businesses are hopeful. News 12's Nick Proto joins us now from downtown Aiken. And Nick, with the Masters just weeks away, what are businesses saying?
Well, in just over a week, businesses here in downtown Aiken will see that familiar spring rush. And even though it's not going to be the same rush they're used to, it's still an improvement on what they saw last year. Now, with COVID hitting just over a year ago, Aiken lost all of their major spring events. The Masters got moved to the fall, and they also canceled 3 major horse events that also attract people from out of town. The news hit hotel owners particularly hard. Peggy Penland, who owns the Inn at Hounds Lake, says she normally survives the winter with the money she makes in the spring. With a limited attendance Masters for the second straight year, she says it's been scary thinking about what that means for business. Hounds Lake did get the PPP loan to help out, and Penland says their normal Masters customers have been helpful and understanding too.
They're hanging in with us. You know, they understand that we're a small business and we haven't laid off any employees, and we've been fortunate. We've been fortunate to, have survived all this, to be quite honest.
Coming up on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we talked to the Chamber of Commerce about how even in a year without their usual spring events, some businesses here in Aiken have done better in 2020 than they did in 2019. Meredith?
All right, some encouraging news. Thanks for that, Nick. Taking a look outside, dry and warm this evening, partly cloudy skies, and yep, we still have those pollen clouds everywhere. Riley, at some point, we need to get rid of it or we just need to accept that we all have yellow cars now.
I know. We need some rainfall to help bring down the pollen count because it is extremely high this afternoon. And it's thanks to these breezy south winds. They've been steady between 12 to even up to 18 miles an hour in some spots. We have stayed dry, which is just helping keep that pollen count high. But once we start to see some rain tomorrow and through the weekend, we should hopefully start to see that pollen count go down for us. Now, very active severe weather today across portions of the southeast. We actually do have a tornado watch across portions of Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and even northwest Georgia. We have had confirmed tornadoes on the ground already in central Alabama. You can see these reports here with this supercell that basically has now tracked into northwest Georgia. This moved past Rome, Georgia, portions of Floyd County in northwest Georgia, currently underneath a tornado warning. We are currently dry, though. This severe weather threat is going to stay to our north and to our west the rest of this evening and tonight. You can see another tornado warning there just north of us in Chester, Lawrence, and Union County. Now, the severe weather threat is very low for us as we head late tonight into early Friday morning. You can see by the model doing a pretty good job showing that these storms will weaken substantially by the time they reach us. Now, still can't rule out maybe a storm or two does produce some strong wind gusts. We'll have much more on that threat on Friday in your weekend forecast in just a little bit.
All right, thank you, Riley. Today, President Joe Biden held his first news conference since taking office, covering topics from the southern border to foreign policy disputes in North Korea. Natalie Brand is at the White House with a recap.
From the East Room of the White House, President Biden touted progress in the federal response against the coronavirus.
Today I'm setting a second goal, and that is we will, by my 100th day in office, have administered 200 million shots
but he faced tough questions about what many call a growing crisis on the southern border. The surge of unaccompanied children arriving this month is expected to reach historic levels.
If an unaccompanied child ends up at the border, we're just going to let them starve to death and stay on the other side. I'm not going to do it.
The president has called on Congress to act in the wake of 2 mass shootings in less than a week. During the news conference, he was also pressed on calls to abolish the filibuster in an evenly divided Senate.
Let's deal with the abuse first. I want to get things done. I want to get them done consistent with what we promised the American people.
On the foreign policy front, the president is facing growing tensions as North Korea has resumed its missile tests. A U.S. official says the country test-fired what appeared to be 2 short-range ballistic missiles into the Sea of Japan Thursday.
If they choose to escalate, we will respond accordingly. But I'm also prepared for some form of diplomacy.
While President Biden said it's too soon to plan for 2024, he announced that he expects to run for re-election with Vice President Kamala Harris as his running mate. Natalie Brand, CBS News, the White House.
During today's news conference, the president said he'll soon lay out his plans for his next big initiative, infrastructure. The president was also asked about the state legislative efforts nationwide to restrict voting rights. He called it un-American and, quote, sick. The suspect in the deadly Boulder mass shooting in court for the first time this morning. Ahmad Alisa faces 10 charges of first-degree murder in Monday's shooting at King Soopers grocery store in Colorado. Prosecutors say they will file additional charges in the next couple of weeks as investigators complete crime scene processing.
I will do everything I can in my power to protect his constitutional right to a fair trial and to ensure that that right is preserved.
So far, authorities have not discussed a motive in the case. In the hearing, the defense attorney asked for a mental health evaluation. Prosecutors did not object. The judge allowed 60 to 90 days for the defense to prepare. Colorado has seen at least 6 mass shootings in the past 25 years. Here are 3 of the most notable. The shooting, of course, at Columbine High School, where 15 people died. The Aurora movie theater shooting, where 12 people died. Then Monday's shooting as well. Boulder recently tried to ban some forms of semi-automatic rifles like the one used in Monday's attack. Those efforts were blocked by a judge just 10 days before this week's shooting. The city hasn't yet decided whether or not to appeal the ruling. Colorado State Shooting Association says any new debate on gun law should come after time is allowed for grief and for healing. Opening statements are Monday in the trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. He faces murder charges in the death of George Floyd. Today, the mayor spoke on the upcoming trial, saying no person should feel unsafe in their own community.
No neighborhood deserves to feel violence and chaos. Everyone should feel comfortable walking on the street, on their sidewalk. Everyone should feel comfortable having their children play outside.
They say police will continue to be present during the trial. The city says they want to see peaceful protests taking place. A man is dead following a crash this morning in Aiken County. 25-year-old Dexter Valet was driving on Old 96 Indian Trail in Batesburg just before 7. The coroner says his car left the road, flipped, and he was thrown out of the car. He was the only one in the car, and we're told he was not wearing a seatbelt. He died on scene. Teachers in Georgia will soon see a $1,000 bonus come into their bank accounts. Today, the State Board of Education approved a recommendation from Governor Kemp and the state school superintendent. Federal stimulus funds will be used to give every K-12 public school teachers a bonus. A detailed report on the origins of the coronavirus is expected to be released this week. The World Health Organization sent a team of experts to Wuhan earlier this year to investigate. A senior U.S. official says the United States expects the investigation will show more studies are needed, and perhaps there'll be another visit to China. Some members who went to Wuhan say China was actually reluctant to share important data that could show the virus was circulating months earlier than first recognized. There are new signs the travel industry is on the mend. United Airlines says it will add 26 new nonstop routes from Midwestern cities to vacation destinations in the U.S. starting in May. 20 other domestic routes will also pick back up. The company says it anticipates a busy summer travel season. United says bookings are the strongest they've been since the start of the pandemic. Our local blood centers need your help filling their shelves, and you have an opportunity today. The Shepherd Community Blood Center is hosting a blood drive at the First Baptist Church of Thompson. It's until 6:30 tonight. You can call them to make an appointment, but you don't have to do that. You could just show up. All donations go to our local hospitals. They say they are in need of all blood types. Coming up, you might not have to worry as much about COVID when you celebrate Easter with your family. Local experts explain why. Riley?
Want to give a quick shout out to Mr. McKinney's 4th grade class at Clearwater Elementary who let me come talk to them for Science Day. Had a lot of fun. They asked some great questions. Have a look at your Friday and weekend forecasts next.
The pandemic fallout could last for a lifetime.
Death is not the only outcome from this disease.
Local survivors flooding the I-Team with tales of debilitating symptoms. Locked in limbo. Tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock.
We saw a big jump in COVID cases during the holiday season. Health experts say it was because of family gatherings and vaccines, they were not openly available yet. But as our Tradisha Woodard found out, unlike Christmas and New Year's, officials say they're not expecting much of a surge after Easter.
When the clock jumps forward and the flowers start to bloom, you know that Easter is around the corner.
They're all really excited.
Lucinda McIntosh says, coming from 2020, it's a breath of relief.
Easter last year basically didn't happen, and we also had to give up Thanksgiving and Christmas.
She says, but this year, they have hope.
My parents have been vaccinated. My husband and I have both had our first vaccines.
They're looking forward to celebrating Easter as a family again.
My mother had already came over to my house bringing me all the supplies. She's like, I got more eggs if you need them so we can hide them.
Dr. Roger MacArthur over at AU says they're not expecting to see another surge in COVID cases.
I personally don't think that we're going to see a big surge around or a week or two after Easter. The main reason is that, well, we've vaccinated a lot of people.
He says there's also a lot of people who have already been infected or exposed naturally.
It's not where we need to be, but it's enough that we're not going to see another big surge.
He says as the vaccine rollout continues to expand, it makes planning for people like McIntosh a whole lot easier.
My parents, especially my mother, was really suffering through all this. We want to be able to spend as much time with them as we can.
Tradisha Woodard on your side.
AU Health says they expect to see a continuing decline in cases, but they are still encouraging everyone to be safe. So they say keep wearing your masks, keep social distancing, especially if you decide to visit other family and friends. Taking a look outside, the gateway to Grovetown, some clouds in the sky there, and it's been a warm day. Spring definitely is here to stay. Chief Meteorologist.
And radar definitely showing a lot of active storms off towards our west and even just towards our north, just outside of the viewing area. Luckily, that severe weather threat is going to stay away from us through the rest of this evening. But by tomorrow morning, we could see what's left of these storms, possibly producing a few strong wind gusts. But overall, our severe weather threat much lower than what they're currently dealing with in other portions of the southeast. We have a new tornado watch now extending all the way through central Tennessee, all the way up into Kentucky, portions of southern Indiana, and Illinois as well. In Alabama, Mississippi, and even North Georgia, their tornado watch extending up until around 8 p.m. this evening. Now, take a look at this. You can actually see there was a supercell thunderstorm that did produce a tornado just south of Birmingham, and it was stayed on the ground a good while. A lot of damage coming out of Alabama this afternoon from those storms that have fired up. That storm that did produce a tornado near Birmingham is now just on the northwest side of Atlanta, affecting Floyd County, where they are currently underneath a tornado warning until 5:15 p.m. And then just north of us, this is actually just north of, just to the northwest of downtown Columbia, portions of Chester and Union County underneath a tornado warning, and potentially seeing some golf ball size hail as well. So definitely a big hail core on that system. Luckily, this is staying away from the CSRA, not anticipating these storms to really impact us until we get to late tonight and early Friday morning. It's going to start for our northern and western counties first, just by a little bit before daybreak Friday morning. So once again, the threat will be there. It's a very low threat, just not technically zero. But if we were to see any strong storms, it would be first thing Friday morning as this front starts to move in. Later in the Friday afternoon, not expecting a huge severe weather threat, but still could see a few showers out there. And then heading into the weekend, I would not cancel outdoor plans Saturday or necessarily even Sunday. For your Saturday, from around mid-morning to mid-afternoon, we're going to see a warm front be lifting north of us. That could spark off a few showers, but actually most of the day Saturday should be dry and fairly warm again, with high temperatures well above normal back into the 80s. Now for that Friday, severe weather chance, once again, a marginal risk, a very low threat. Anything that does form wouldn't last all too long and likely wouldn't be all that intense either, but does go for everybody. So just a heads up, want to give you that first alert that potentially we could see some storms Friday morning, but not necessarily enough, or not expecting impacts to be enough to issue a weather alert day. So a little bit different there. First alert between weather alert day. Now the severe threat tomorrow, it would be between 5 a.m. and around noontime for the threat of some gusty winds. Lightning, always a hazard with thunderstorms, so watch out for that, but just want to emphasize, not expecting that for most of us. As we head into the weekend, we're going to stay warm. Those temperatures remaining well above normal in the 80s. We'll cool back down close to average by early next week.
All right, thank you, Riley. The Tokyo Olympics torch relay kicked off in Japan today. The flame passed its way through this town in Fukushima that was severely damaged by a 2011 earthquake and tsunami. About 100 spectators gathered in front of a train station to silently cheer on the torch runners. Tokyo 2020 organizers have billed the games as the Recovery Olympics to show the world the region's reconstruction effort in the last 10 years. Today, March 25th, marks Medal of Honor Day. The medal itself dates back to the Civil War. It is the nation's highest and most prestigious military honor, awarded to those service members who put their lives at risk. In the next few years, there will be a new national landmark of sorts to help celebrate their service and inspire all Americans. That future museum will sit just a short distance from the home of the Dallas Cowboys. When the museum is completed, along with exhibits for the recipients, they'll also add an education center there. Still ahead, fake Facebook accounts. They are on the rise. Coming up, just how many are out there and why they might be coming after you. You might want to think twice before accepting friend requests on Facebook. There are millions of fake accounts sending friend requests to as many people as they can. And some of your Facebook friends, well, they've likely helped scammers get in touch with other friends. Jamie Tucker breaks down some pretty surprising numbers.
The number of fake Facebook accounts is staggering. Actually, there's no way to know the exact number because fake accounts look like real people. What we do know is how many fake accounts Facebook has discovered and taken down. 1.3 billion between October and December of last year. In its report, Facebook claims it blocks millions of fake accounts every day, most of the time as they're being created. The company engaging in a real-time, real-world game of whack-a-mole.
So why so many fake accounts? Well, scammers will use it to scrape personal information for potential victims for identity theft. They might also send them links to malicious websites to install malware on their computer. Foreign governments use fake accounts to spread false information. And yes, some people will set up fake or anonymous accounts to spy on their exes.
Facebook's gotten better at preventing fake accounts by requiring email addresses, phone numbers, sometimes a photo ID, but that hasn't stopped some people from getting past that security. This woman's photo of her kids was used to set up a fake account last year. Becky Smith had never heard of Kenny Askew, but whoever was behind the account stole her photo and used it as his or her profile photo. Smith reported the account to Facebook and it was taken down.
How do you protect yourself? You simply don't accept friend requests from someone you don't know, or if you know you're already friends on Facebook, and report those profiles to Facebook. And remember, don't just delete the friend requests, block them. That's what that's at. I'm Jamie Tucker.
Same thing happened to me. One of my Instagram pictures was stolen and then used to create a fake account. You just never know who these people are. Now, in the report, Facebook says it now has more than 35,000 people working to block fake accounts and posts with false information. It might be too late to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, but what about St. paw tricks. Well, today, the Aiken County Animal Shelter held a special St. Patty's adoption event. They had to reschedule last week because of the severe weather threats. Organizers say, regardless of the date change, it was a success.
Even though we canceled due to the weather, it was really a great day. We had 8 adoptions on that day, so we did stay open late.
The Aiken County Animal Shelter is staying open late tonight, too, until 7 o'clock. They ask, though, that you call ahead before showing up.
Heading into the weekend, we will have the opportunity for a few showers, but definitely not a washout. We'll have a look at that weekend forecast next.
Ashley Home Stores.
All right, let's take a look at your community calendar. You can enjoy barbecue, drinks, and music by Extreme Party Band tomorrow. It's happening at the Columbia County Amphitheater, which is right behind the Evans Library. It's going from 6 to 9 and is free to get in. That's tomorrow at the Columbia County Amphitheater. And looking mostly rain-free during that time frame tomorrow between 6 and 9 in Columbia County. Now, early Friday morning up until around midday, there is going to be a low-end severe weather threat. Not expected to be a huge issue for most of us. Just can't rule out maybe an isolated severe thunderstorm warning for the threat of some gusty winds. Now, we are tracking some very intense weather off towards our west and towards our north that will continue this evening into late tonight. But that front is not expected to really reach us until we get to Friday morning, up until around midday, then past that, not expecting much. Staying warm for the weekend, for your Saturday. First half does look dry by mid-morning, mid-afternoon. We're going to be tracking a warm front that's going to be lifting north of us. Can't rule out some showers, but overall, definitely not a washout. I would keep your outdoor plans this weekend. Now on Sunday morning, completely dry once again. We're going to be tracking another front that drops in late Sunday afternoon into Sunday evening. So any plans before, say, 3 o'clock Sunday, those look completely dry. So definitely plenty of dry weather to get in some outdoor plans as we head into the weekend. Staying warm with those highs in the 80s through Sunday.
All right. Thanks for that, Riley. Coming up, we'll talk about vaccines. Richard Rogers joins us.
News 1226 at Vince Lockhart.
To keep informed with the latest happening near you.
From the station that's on your side, News 12, first at 5, continues.
A Georgia high school coach reenacts the moments leading up to George Floyd's death, and parents